Welcome back, my gentle people. This is Corner Stories, and today we have 3 stories and their updates. So let's get into it. Story 1, my son is going to get his heart broken tonight. My son has been dating a girl for a few months. I'm friendly with her mom and she texted me this morning, explaining that she found inappropriate texts on her daughter's phone to another boy. They've only been talking for a few days and she doesn't even know the boy. I think she met him online. Her mom is making her tell him tonight. I'm heartbroken for him and I've already prepped his favorite dinner for afterwards. I can't give him a warning, right? I have to let him navigate this on his own. I'm worried that if I let on that I knew before he even went to school this morning, he will be upset with me. Man, this sucks. Relevant comments. Stay out of it. I honestly think the girl's mother is overstepping by forcing her daughter to come clean. OP's response. She said she wanted her to deal with the consequences of her actions. Comment 2. Why did that mom bother telling you at all? OP's response. I think she just wanted to warn me that I was going to have a heartbroken kiddo. I appreciate the heads up, but in a way it does make things more difficult for me. Moving on to the update. I wanted to thank everyone for all of the kind words that they had for me yesterday. It was interesting to see the different responses, most of which were very positive, but quite a few thought we were overstepping and invading privacy. To expand on my previous post, our kids are both 14 and this is their first real relationship. This got longer than anticipated, so I apologize in advance. My daughter, son, and his girlfriend are all on the same sports team and they had practice last night. My daughter came out first afterward and told me that his girlfriend told him what happened before practice even started. My daughter wasn't sure what was said, so I waited for him to come out to the car. To my surprise, he seemed completely normal. I asked him how practice went and he said something along the lines of, "Her mom told you, didn't she?" with a slight grin. I told him that I knew the gist of it, but not everything, and I would like to hear what she told him. She told him that her friend had given her number to a boy whom she met online. He started texting her and she just went along with it, then she got grounded for school reasons and her mom had her phone. This boy texted when her mom had her phone and that's how she found out. She was crying, profusely apologizing, and asked him if he would forgive her. He did. He then asked if I was going to make them break up, to which I told him no. It's his relationship and I'm not going to tell him what to do. After we got home, his girlfriend's mom messaged and asked how he was doing. I told her that he was doing fine and relayed what I was told, which she corroborated. The boy was sending inappropriate messages and she just answered back innocently, but the mom was upset that she broke their "no talking to strangers" rule and didn't tell her mom what was happening when his messages turned inappropriate. She is going to reach out to her friend's mom to let her know what is happening because her gut tells her that it's not a boy on the other end of the phone. She also told me that she did a deep dive on her phone to make sure there was nothing else, and she was delighted to see how innocent the conversations between her and my son were. He is pretty prude and gets uncomfortable with anything remotely inappropriate. He doesn't even like explicit language in music. When talking to him this morning, I discovered that neither one of them have had their first kiss yet, but have talked about it. They recently decided not to when she got too nervous. It's all pretty wholesome, really. Relevant comments. Let me just see if I get it. Friend gave stranger the girlfriend's number. Is this normal? Feels weird and I'd be suspicious about that friend. Girlfriend replied back and it was innocent on her end. Didn't tell mom, though, that she was talking to a stranger. Mom gets mad that girlfriend broke their rule about no talking to strangers. At no point did things get inappropriate on her end, but the stranger got inappropriate with girlfriend. I'm suspicious on that friend and worried about the seemingly naivete of girlfriend. OP's response. My son also said he was very suspicious of the friend. He has met her before and said that she didn't even really talk to him. I'm not so sure I would call it naivete on the part of the girlfriend. It's possible that she was just uncomfortable and didn't know how to respond. I was also that way at 14. Comment 2. As someone that was already getting groomed at 14, I'm genuinely so glad to see some 14-year-olds that are just so adorable and wholesome that they're even waiting for their first kiss. Update in 10 years when they get married? LOL. OP's response. It's kind of a funny story. They don't go to the same school right now, but they did in 2nd grade. They dated in 2nd grade, whatever that means, and then we moved and they hadn't seen each other since about 6 months ago, and then they started dating a few weeks later. Now let's move on to the next story. Story 2, AITA for ruining my flatmate's anniversary weekend and crossing his girlfriend's boundaries? My 22F roommate, 22M, is my best friend and has been for years. We've lived together for 2.5 years and it's genuinely the best living situation I've ever been in. We love to hang out and have a very close relationship, often talking for hours on end. 2 years ago, he started seeing Rachel, 21F. Rachel and I get along very well, often drinking together and watching movies without my roommate. I consider her one of my best friends. Rachel is also frequently at my flat, often spending 4 days there at a time. The problem arose a week before their 2-year anniversary. Rachel asked me to leave the flat that my roommate and I share for the weekend because they celebrate their anniversary over 2 days and she wants to be alone with him. She wants me to sleep in her bed at her flat that she shared with her 2 other flatmates. I pushed back against this as I have a weekly call on Sunday, and the Wi-Fi in her flat is terrible and would make the call quality extremely poor. She agreed to let me stay home on Sunday and says that she'll make her bed for me to sleep in on Saturday. All is well. Then Saturday comes. I'm at the library writing my dissertation with a good friend, and I get a text from Rachel telling me that she's sorry, but that she forgot to change her sheets for me to sleep in. She asks me to instead go sleep at another friend's house. I say that I don't want to do that, as this friend's house very far away. She gets very upset with me and says it will have to be Sunday instead. I again refuse as this is the day that I have my weekly call. Rachel absolutely blows up at me. She says that I've violated her boundaries and that she cannot believe that I've done this to her. She says that I am acting like her very cruel and abusive mother. She berates me for the other time I came home after she told me to stay at another house and that was another boundary crossed. I am astounded at this. The reason I went to my house was I was being followed by a man in the dark. I even sat outside of our door for 30 minutes and was planning on staying there for a few hours to give them their space, until she opened the door to let me in. I immediately take it back and say that I'll go to her house for both nights so they can have a special weekend. Since this has happened, she has not spoken to me for 4 weeks. I have repeatedly reached out to her to apologize, but have gotten literally nothing back. She has come over to my flat a few times in the meantime, but has ignored me when she walks to his room. There was even an occasion when I was hanging out with 2 of my friends and she ignored me and had a conversation with the 2 of them in front of me, even arranging for them to hang out later, again, without me. Though I still feel bad, my friends have told me that I have done nothing wrong and that she's being an asshole, plus she has no right in general to order me out of my house. Relevant comments: what does your roommate have to say about this? He's very adverse to conflict. There have been massive friend fallouts that he has sat out of because he doesn't like to pick sides. Just never thought this would bite me in the ass, I guess. But yeah, he hasn't said anything and I'm not really expecting him to. She's a user, gaslighter, and is taking advantage of you. Talk to your roommate and don't apologize again. Okay. I guess I thought that I was breaking a boundary I didn't understand. It's reached the point where my roommate needs to be brought in. I'll talk to him tomorrow and sort this out because I'm really tired of being a stranger in my own home. OP's response: you're right about me missing a backbone. I thought I was doing something nice and ended up being a pushover. This is an absolutely wake-up call. My roommate has said nothing. He's super adverse to conflict and normally it's fine, but this has just gone too far at this point. She probably walks all over him too. OP's response: yeah. A thing I didn't mention in the post is that during this 4-week period, he and I were hanging out together in our living room, she was in his bedroom, and she whistled for him. Yeah, like a dog. So he stood up and went to his bedroom to be with her. She has been treating him poorly and I really don't like it. Is she jealous of your relationship with him? OP's response: nothing that I've ever noticed. We've been best friends for 4 years, to the point where people wouldn't refer to us as one person, and we tend to cuddle a lot, which I could see as pissing her off if not for point 2, which is I'm a lesbian. I love him a lot, but it's purely platonic. Even when we met there was never a hint of anything. Update from the next day: well, good news, bad news. Me and Rachel are no longer friends, and her and my best friend are over. When I sat down with my flatmate to finally talk about how hurt I'd been feeling about the whole situation, he listened to my feelings and was supportive of me placing down boundaries about our home. He apologized for not calling her out, saying he had no clue how to get between me and her. Then he left and told me he was going to talk to her about everything and get it sorted, which I really appreciated. Communication really is key, I guess. Cue to me waiting about 4 hours. I figured they must have been talking for a while, but I won't lie, around hour 3 I started to get worried. When he came back he was incredibly despondent and upset. When he went over to talk about me, she had broken up with him. The second he brought up how upset she'd made me, she told him that their relationship was over. Apparently Rachel had been feeling for a while that they had a highly codependent relationship and needed a while to figure out how she can be on her own. She also said that every time she wasn't with him she started having severe anxiety, even on the level of panic attacks, which is why she hated me being there when they were on dates and why she didn't like me spending time with him. He was deeply shocked and asked her why. She responded, "She gets to see you 24/7 and I only get a few hours, she's being selfish with your time and mine." Whoever asked if she was jealous was right on the money. She also revealed that she had hated me since we met, labeling me as not a person she would ever hang out with, and hid that from me and my best friend for years. She said that this is a break and that she still loves him and wants to get back together with him, just later. Personally, I don't see that happening. My best friend is heartbroken and deeply hurt by how she approached their relationship and me. When I asked if he thought this was a break he responded, "No fucking way." She came back over the same day to pick up her stuff from our flat. Just as I was about to close the door on her, I said, "I think it's obvious to both of us that we're not friends and probably never were." She just shrugged. "I guess that's everything. Thank you so much for the help and support." It was really comforting to be told that I was not wrong because I had basically been warping my reality to fit the narrative she had built around my actions. I also bought a book on boundaries because evidently I haven't been exercising my own enough and need to make sure I do. Thank you all again, and that's all I have of this story, and now let's move on to the final story. So I, 24M, live with my cousin, 23M, and recently he began dating a former co-worker of ours, 20F, who has her own place. They started officially seeing each other around Valentine's this year and have literally spent less than 24 consecutive hours apart since. That being said, apart from what feels like the loss of a best friend, I am very frustrated that he is now never home to help with chores, nor to care for our 3 cats, and when he is home, she is now there too. Every time. I don't dislike his GF, even though we shared some less that friendly interactions when working together, whole other story, but I definitely did not sign up to live with her for days at a time. Although I have never outright expressed this, I have hinted at it a couple of times in jokingly saying that she does not get a vote on trivial matters because she does not live there, pay rent, to which her reply is always, "I basically live here because of how much I am over here." Today, she texted me asking if I would be back home tonight. "I am visiting my parents for a couple of days," and when I said I wasn't sure and why she was asking, she responded, "Oh, just wondering." Edit, didn't expect this much traffic, my apologies. For clarity, I have 2 out of the 3 cats with me visiting at my parents'. His is back home with him and his GF. 1.5, due to his excessive absence, I have decided to try my best to retain sole custody of the 3rd, shared kitty, as I will likely be relocating for work in the coming months. Yes, I sort of contradicted myself, but to clarify, he has not been home for about 70% of the past month, the other 30% he is and she is with him every night he stays at home. However, even when he is home I have had to clean up behind them in the common spaces. The lease is in both of our names. Split down the middle with our own bedrooms and bathrooms but shared common spaces. 3.5, we have a previously agreed upon, no sex rule for common spaces. I have decided not to respond to her and will be contacting him shortly to find out why she is asking me such things instead of him and why they need to know. Update, I asked my cousin why his GF is texting me wondering about when I would be coming home. He told me it was so that he could make sure his cat wouldn't be by himself last night. When I asked why he didn't just ask me himself, his response was that he was about to ask me but then he got ready for class and forgot to, so she just went ahead and did it. I then explained how she could have just said that when I asked why, and that it came off as weird as a text from her and not from him in the first place. He apologized and reiterated that it was so that his cat was not alone for the night. I'm glad this was the reason, as I don't feel as bad about leaving his kitty with him. Relevant comments. There is nothing more annoying than watching grown adults behave as though they're joined at the hip. You need to have an honest conversation with your buddy, alone, about both the frequency of her visits and the diminishment of your friendship. He may not hear you until he's out of the honeymoon phase, but it deserves to be said. And finally, that text would have hit very different had she not built a history of claiming part ownership over a space that isn't her own. Keep the peace is a great principle to ensure that the bigger, louder always wins. It's your thing apartment. Next time ask her if she plans to still be at your house when you arrive. For FS sake. OP's response. The usual me would have said exactly this and wouldn't care to be labeled an asshole. The only reason I am second guessing is out of respect for my cousin, but this is not the first time I have compromised my usual tendencies in efforts to do so. Comment 2. A lot of people these days seem to think that meek equals respectful and direct equals disrespectful. There's nothing discourteous about approaching your cousin calmly and with complete honesty. I would never dream of texting my GF's roommate to ask her to inform me when she plans to come through her own door. If we needed that info for something important, my GF would, and should, be the one to do it. It's pretty contextually clear that this girl thinks of herself as a third roommate, and that's simply inappropriate. OP's response. This was exactly my thoughts. Why is he not the one asking me? Otherwise it leads me to believe that it's because she has intentions to use the apartment for something she knows I have established with my cousin as off-limits, such as sex in the common spaces, or particularly her friends coming over, as her closest friend is not someone that I want to be in my apartment. And that is the end of the story. That's it guys, this is where I will leave you. I hope you enjoyed the stories I had for you. I certainly enjoyed them. Please be sure to drop a like or a comment, and it would mean a lot to me if you subscribe to the channel. Until next time, be kind, be curious, and I will see you. Corner Stories signing off.